touch of madness around here.
Okay, when we're recording from a dark basement in a haunted dwelling somewhere in the black swamp of Northwest Ohio. This is Paranormal Proximity, and I am Paul Ieson, and with me tonight, our guest is Sonya Thompson. So first off, I want to start out by saying this is show 1, and it is brought to you by WordPress Society. So they talked me into doing a show again. So I'm doing a show, and it's kind of my way of paying back all the help that I'm getting from the publisher who owns the rights to all these broadcasts. And Sonya is, I think this is your third time back.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Sonya's third time back on a show of mine. And you guys are going to love her. Her book is I Am Zombie, Hear Me Roar, Snore. I Am Zombie, Hear Me Snore. That's right, because you changed that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically a guide to how to be a zombie. So that's how she got on the show. But Sonya has played roles from detective to zombie, not only in film, but also on primetime TV. Although she has done many roles, what she is known for has, what she is known for has been her main zombie roles in Zombieland and the hit TV show The Walking Dead seasons 1 and 2. And that, along with the book, is why I know that everybody that's going to be watching this is going to love you tonight. Because in her book, she has got how to make fake blood and all that kind of happy stuff. I'll let her tell you the rest. You can find Sonya Thompson's information on imb.com, or she's got her website, professionalzombie.com. So, welcome to the show, Sonya. I am so grateful that you came on. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me again. It's always been wonderful being on your show. So I'm glad that you've started back up and doing another show. I think this is going to be very successful for you, and you will enjoy doing it as soon as you get back into the routine. But yes, my name is Sonya Thompson. I was on season 1 and season 2 of The Walking Dead, and I was also on Zombieland. I've done Night of the Jackals. I've done other movies that I've had starring roles in and co-starring roles in. But no matter how many times I have speaking lines in a movie, it all goes back to the zombie stuff. So at some point I decided that, well, let's just put it this way. When I'm at conventions, there were questions that people would ask. And so I decided that I would take a lot of the number one questions and put into, to me, this book, I Am Zombie, Hear Me Snarl. It started out as, I actually had a book called I Am Zombie, Hear Me Roar. But then I got the idea of putting I teach zombie workshops throughout the world. And I came up with a booklet for that. And so I decided to put that inside of my book so people would have access to that to learn how to be a zombie. So I decided to rename the book I Am Zombie, Hear Me Snarl. And because I thought it was a little bit more clever anyway, because what zombies roar. So anyway, I took some of the number one questions that are asked of me and put in this book. I put a fake blood recipe in here, a prosthetic recipe in here. I put, how to, dirty up your clothes, stuff like that in my booklet. I'm an artist, so I drew a lot of the zombies from The Walking Dead, including myself, and I put those in my zombie training. It's called Zombie Academy, and so I put that in my booklet. And so you get my artwork in this, and also I put some toward the back. I put some other things that I've been in, some other movies and TV shows and stuff, because that way people can see that I'm not just a zombie actor, that I do a lot more.
There's a lot more to you than just getting out of the car and going,
Exactly. So that was kind of the purpose for the book. And And it was kind of funny because I used to joke about when people would come up to the table at a convention, I was just waiting on that question. Like, how long does it take to put the makeup on?
I was going to ask you the same thing.
Yeah, see, that is the number one question. So that was one of the questions I put in the book. I was like, maybe I could just record me answering all these things. And then when they come to the table, just press a button. And then I was like, well, if I put it all in a book, it's like, hey, you can buy the book and it's all in here, But anyway, I just felt like, this was a good way for people to kind of get to know me a little bit and know how it is to be on sets and past things I've done and how I first got started doing zombies.
Do you meet a lot of weirdos doing conventions, or are most of the people pretty cool?
Well, I could either call them weirdos or call myself weirdos. I don't know. They may think I'm the weirdo,
Well, you are on
and
my
they may be
show.
the cool people. I don't know. So,
You're on my show. You are weird.
see, there you go. So, I think it just depends on what your perception is of weird or normal or
Well,
cool.
okay. Do you have
You
to
know?
call security that often?
No, no, no. I don't have to really call security that often. Now, there have been some times that um, I've, had to, they have had, bodyguards for me at some of these shows. And it was much appreciative, especially there in the beginning when The Walking Dead first came out and stuff like that. But I, I do remember there's been a couple times where there's some people I couldn't quite get rid of. It was just like they were leeching on, and that made me feel very uncomfortable. So I'd have to, get somebody to ask them to leave for me because it wasn't working with me asking. And then there was another time I stepped away from my table and I was still close enough to see my table, but this guy just went and sat down behind my table. Like it was okay to go behind my table and sit down. And I was like, oh no, he didn't, you know? And so I asked a friend of mine, I'm like, will you please walk with me? I think there might be a situation over at my
Yeah,
table, and he was a pretty
no
big
doubt.
guy who came with me. And I asked this gentleman, I'm like, well, why do you think it's okay to be behind my table? And he just looked at me, and I'm like, I'm asking you a question. And he says, well, we talked earlier. And I was like, yes, but I did not give you permission to go behind my table. I've got private things behind there, and that's I I need you to be on the other side
You're
of the
right.
table. I can't have you on that side. I was trying to be as nice and kind as I possibly
And
could, but
polite as you are, because that
yeah,
is just the way you are anyway.
well, thank you. And so the guy that was with me, he didn't have to do anything, but he did do, his arms crossed and kind of looked at the guy and glared at him. So I guess that might have helped a little bit. It was a bit intimidating, but you know, uh, overall, I mean, it's not been too bad. Most of the time, people are respectful. So it's only
Yeah.
been a couple times. There's been a few that, you know, like that situation.
So, how long did it take you to put your book together?
Oh Lord, I can't even remember now because it's been a bit since I did it. But it wasn't too bad. I mean, I had to, I wrote everything and then I'd go back and I would make sure that, I should have had an editor, I guess, but because there might be some repetitive stuff in there, but I think that's only because I added the training booklet in there after that.
I don't know.
Um,
Wendy's going to kill me, but editors can be brutal.
yeah, I'm sure they can, but sometimes that's what you need. And I'm probably the next book I do is going to be more of a history based book. It's going to be churches of Jackson County, and it's in Georgia. And so I want to do the older churches, and I want to do a little bit of. I'm doing a little bit of the history of each town that the churches are in, and the county, and things like that. And so I'm going to get somebody to go back through that and edit it for me to make sure that since it is a history based book, I
Yeah.
want to for sure make sure that one's good. But I do at some point want to re-release this book, maybe on another platform And when I do that, I'm going to go back through and I'm either going to add some stuff or take some stuff out.
Well, yeah. I do know that Wendy. I was just talking a little smack about her, but she's awesome, and the publisher is great at formatting. And if there's an issue, she will definitely let you know.
Sure.
Um, or she'll fix it. And but anyway, it's putting the horse in front of the cart. Uh, damn, I hate this when this happens. I had a question, and
Well, if it's how long the
it's
makeup process,
gone.
if it has how long the makeup process is, it's an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on what they're doing to you that day.
There you go. Thanks for saving my ass. That's what my question was, and I forgot what it was. My mind just does that stuff to me sometimes. I see creators on TikTok talk about how they when they do their face stuff and all that, they're always talking about how they spent 15 hours putting on their makeup. That's one of the reasons I asked you, because I didn't think that you actually spent that kind of time every day. It seems like it would cost a lot too much money on a creative end.
Yeah, it would, and I'll tell you, K&B Effects, they do have their crap together. Like they've got everything organized in drawers, their prosthetics, their pieces and stuff. And they've done it so many times that they have a rhythm. And so, but there are some, like Bicycle Girl was 3.5, 4 hours, something like that. RV Zombie was a lot. I guess the Swamp Zombie or Creep, the one that Carl killed, I think that was in the riverbed or whatever. That was a lot of makeup. So there are some that are a lot longer. And especially if it's like from the body up or full body makeup. I did a gig down in Florida. I was an electrocuted prisoner, and it was like for a photo shoot, and they did my arms and my chest up all the way up, and it took a while for that. And I did also in Florida for a similar project. I was a zombie nun, and the zombie nun was a good 3 hour.
I remember seeing that picture.
Yeah.
That was
So
cool.
yeah, it was, and they did like a burnt cross on my face.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was a really cool. That was some cool makeup and stuff. But I have found that when I get the makeup done, that having a mirror in front of me helps me to visualize what they're doing to me so I can prepare for the role. And it also, from my creative sense of being an artist, having the mirror in front of me actually helps me to look at me as the canvas, and I'm watching them, put their art on me, to design their art on me as it goes. And, while they're doing it, you see the look on their face, and you see that they're really paying attention. And so all of a sudden the details start to come together, and they'll stand back, they'll look at the piece, me, and then they'll, start adding more blood or maybe some darkness here, or they'll do more around the eyes. And so it's really cool. And it's the same thing when I'm getting like regular makeup done for like just a regular role. Even those makeup artists, they've got a certain look that they've got to acquire for that particular role, and they'll even stand back and look to see how it looks. And those aren't as, when they're doing regular makeup on me, it's not as big a deal if I have a mirror in front of me or not. But I get a little bit of anxiety if I don't have a mirror in front of me when they're doing special effects makeup, because I'm feeling like, oh my God, I can't see what they're doing to me.
Right.
And my anxiety levels get up a little bit, and I'm like, I gotta see,
So here's a question for you. How did COVID fuck up the mix?
I tell you, that really left a lasting mark, I think, on the industry. They a lot of the shows were wanting people to go in and take COVID tests every day and stuff like that, and me personally, I have sinus infections. I have sinus issues and stuff. I can't always have, um, you know, like the the test every day up my nose because that causes too much irritation and I've been getting nosebleeds since I was a kid. So that really messed up a lot of projects that I might wanted to work on or you know, I just if they required a lot of testing. I know why they were trying to do it, but to try to keep everybody safe and everything, but that was just too grueling for my body to handle. So I just didn't do as much.
Well, everybody had to do it in their own way. Um, I'm not going to turn this into a conspiracy show. So, because you already know me well enough to know how I feel about it. um, yeah. So since then, things have gotten easier and better.
Yeah, everything's a lot better now. I don't, they've dropped a lot of those requirements and stuff. But I haven't worked as much. I've just focused in on a lot of personal things and remodeling of my house, the things that I can afford. Um, but it's just changed things so much. But things are starting to pick back up after the strike and the writer strike and everything else. So, hopefully things will kind of ramp back up a little bit more. And I've already auditioned like about 5 times this year, but I just haven't gotten any callbacks or anything. But I know that I'm getting older, and I know that the demographic, of my age, it's like I don't look like I'm 40 anymore, and I certainly don't look like I'm 60. So there's that gap between like 45 and 60, and I'm in that gap, and that's not a lot of roles.
But there's
So,
makeup.
well, I mean, they've made me look older. So I have had some roles that I've played a meemaw in. And so I've had some stuff put in my hair and on my face, give me some wrinkles and stuff. But if they can
Right.
find somebody that already has all that, then that once again saves money and time.
So, okay. Is there anything on your bucket list?
Yes. I want to go to see. I want to see a castle. And that could be my fascination with vampires, maybe. Um, but I want to go inside of a castle and walk around a castle and absorb the history there. My daughter lives in the Netherlands, and she's taken me. It was back during when the start of COVID, but a lot of things were already closed down over there. She took me to a few abbeys that were kind of castle-like,
Yeah.
but I couldn't go in them. We just walked around the outside of it. So, I really want to go to a castle. That's on my bucket list. But playing a vampire in a movie or TV show is also on my bucket list.
I think you'd do cool with that. I really do. There is a castle in Loveland, Ohio, which is like 20 miles north of Cincinnati,
Hmm.
that you could go visit and you could even stay the night.
Oh, well, that's an idea right there. But I want to stay in a medieval castle in Europe.
I want to live in a medieval castle.
Wouldn't that be the coolest? I mean, it'd be like your own personal fortress, because then you could prepare against the zombie apocalypse a little bit better, and you'd have plenty of storage space for all your, post-apocalyptic prepper, stuff, food, guns, ammo,
Yeah, no doubt. Have
weapons.
you seen some of these castles that you have no clue how they built them because they're up on this plateau and there's no way to get to them.
I know. It's amazing. I was watching the show on British castles, and there's this one castle that was built on the side of a mountain. And the king of the castle, I guess he had actually dug out a tunnel to get out the back side in behind. You go down below the castle and then you go up and you come out on the other side of the mountain somehow. And he would, there was a story of the enemy trying to starve the castle out so they could attack them at their weakest moment. And he would have his servants deliver food to the enemy. And they're like, how are they getting this food? Nobody knew that he was able to get out and go pick, apples and berries and all this kind of stuff. So he was going
Right.
out and getting all his people food and bringing it back into the castle, whether it be, I guess, deer or whatever. And they couldn't figure out what it was. It wasn't until later on that they figured out that he had a secret tunnel that he had tunneled out in a secret cave and stuff. So I'm like, man, that'd be so cool, that'd freak people out.
It would be awesome. I look at it as it's a way just to stay away from people.
Yeah, you could look at it that way.
I just say it's a way for me to stay away from everybody.
It'd be a great way that'd be a great place for introverts, until of course the paranormal kicks in and they stop in and say hello.
I'm not worried about the paranormal. I really don't. I'm not worried about that.
Well,
it's like we have had activity. I live in a haunted house.
Yes, I remember we discussed that one.
Yes, we've discussed that a couple times. And lately, for some weird reason, we've had one of the entities that reside within us mess with the TV or mess with the oven or mess with the refrigerator. And you see it out of the corner of your eye or what have you. So it's not really all that big of a deal, but anytime they feel like they need attention, they start doing things, no one's in the kitchen, but yet something falls on the floor from the counter.
Yeah.
But yet, and there's no train around for vibration at that moment. There's no big trucks going down the road for vibration. So, it's like, okay, what the hell?
Yeah, things happen. I've got a friend that's got a haunted jail in Tennessee, in eastern Tennessee, called a historic Scott County Jail, and I have been there on numerous occasions when I've heard disembodied voices. The jail cell doors start opening, closing on the third floor of the jail. Footsteps, smells, phantom smells, and I mean it's crazy the activity that goes on in there. And I don't know. I'm starting to kind of get into it a little bit more. Maybe my next book will be on paranormal.
Well, I've got Bigfoot in my book and shapeshifter and lizards and all that kind of stuff. So I don't see why you couldn't do paranormal.
I think it'd be cool.
So one last question about your book. How would you, what do you have to recommend to people who are just starting out as an author?
Well, don't lose hope, because, just start writing. Even if you just write a little bit, if you keep saying you don't have time, you're never going to have time. So you just got to set aside at least a little bit of time each week to write. And, once you start writing, then go back and see how you want to format it. You got to have a format for it. You got to lay it out. You got to decide what comes first. That was what I did with mine. I had to kind of figure out, now, how do I want to do this? Do I want to do this chapter first or that chapter first? And my main goal was to try to give some people some insight about who I am and, how to be a zombie possibly. I've even got one chapter I called "To Be or Not to Be a Zombie," and that just kind of talks about how, I began my acting career. And so, I did some modeling. I still do a lot of that. And then I talk about the first time that I had a zombie role. and then I talk about Zombie Land and some of the others, and then I have a section about main questions asked by fans, and within that I also have like my apocalyptic zombie plan. Like as far as my strategy of having like a house up on a hill somewhere with a moat around it, kind of like a castle, and having zip lines and all sorts of cool stuff, having survival guides. I try to put, I don't know, I just try to decide. You just got to sit down and decide, how do I want this book to be? What do I want? What's my main goal to reach the audience? What do I want them to know? And once you get everything in place, then you can, you just start putting it just starts coming together. It really does. And I don't know. I guess that's the best thing. Don't lose sight of what you want to write about. Make time to write, but also make sure that you've got like a guide, a format of, you got to do your rough draft first before you can do your actual writing. And a lot of
Well,
people forget to do that.
yeah. Well, there's a lot of people that forget to do the rewrite. There's
Yeah.
always a rewrite. Always. I don't care. With me, it's the next book, the third in a series I was telling you about. I'm going to put zombies in them, but I'm going to put them in as a necromancer raises the dead and uses magic.
Cool.
I'm going to do it that way. And because you already know how I feel about zombies.
Yeah.
I don't need to piss off anybody watching this by saying what I think about zombies. So, anyway, it was great. I guess this is only going to work for a half hour, but this was great. I really enjoyed having you back, and at some point, maybe, who knows, you can come back again. Next time, you can tell me about paranormal stories or something.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Ghost.
I just want to say thank you for having me and asking me. Anytime you want to have me back, and I'm glad that I'm on your first show. I feel like that's kind of an iconic moment for me to be on your first show of this, getting back on the saddle and, doing a podcast. I think it's great you're doing this, and just keep doing good things, and keep writing.
Oh, no doubt. Always keep writing. Writing is a way for me, to get out my frustration without hurting anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I get that.
So everybody has their thing that they do. And okay. So anyway, for WordPress Society, and for Sonya, and for the most important people out there, which is you guys, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next show. Until then, you guys, everybody, you be safe, be well, and I will see you. Bye.